Hi, everyone. This is Lynn, and I'm here to talk about living in Greece. For context, I am American. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, but I moved to Greece 13 years ago. People ask what I love about living in Greece. I love many things, but just a few of them. I love the pace of life here. It's a slower paced country. It's the Mediterranean lifestyle. And so, for example, you can meet a friend for a coffee and that might last 2 or 3 hours, and you're rarely rushing to do something afterwards. So I've really enjoyed that slower pace. I love the food here. Greek food is delicious. It is healthy, it's inexpensive, and it tastes really good. So I've, of course, enjoyed that. I love the natural beauty. We've got beautiful islands, great sea, and also mountains here. So if you're into nature, Greece is a wonderful place to be. The cost of living is lower, so that's been nice. I also love the Greek people. So there's something in Greece called philoxenia, which means showing hospitality or friendship to strangers. And you really see that in the culture. It's a very kind, open-hearted culture where people, if you're a foreigner, they're curious about you. And if you need something, they will try to help you. So that's been really nice. So those are just some of the things I love about living in Greece, but it's a wonderful country. People ask, is it a good place to retire to? I think that depends on what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a country with good weather, kind people, access to good healthcare, and a low cost of living, it's definitely worth a visit. You can have all of those things here. People also ask, is it a good place to be a digital nomad? And I would say the same thing. It's still got that good cost of living, the wonderful weather, good food. It has vibrant expat communities depending on the area you're in. So if you're in Athens or Thessaloniki, it's going to be easy to find community, and in lots of other cities, but you might want to research that point a little bit. And in general, Greece has good infrastructure. So by that, I mean you should be able to get fast Wi-Fi to do your video calls or whatever you need in most parts of Greece. I will say it kind of follows the same rules as everywhere. So I was just in Mount Olympus, and the hotel I was at had good Wi-Fi. My particular room didn't, but my friend's room 2 floors up did. So sometimes you have to check things like that. But I think that's true everywhere in the world. People ask about residency. How do you come to live in Greece? There are many different options, but the three most popular are probably what's called the financial independent means, which is the one that you would use if you're retiring. There's different rules, and I won't get into it because it's complicated and changes, but you would want to check that out. That is an option. There's the digital nomad visa, and there's also the golden visa, which is the one that you get if you buy property over a certain threshold of euros. So those are the three ways you could get here. You'll start by getting a visa, and then that converts to a resident permit that renews. Is it safe living in Greece? In terms of violent crime, it is very safe. It's considered a low crime country. In terms of property theft, things like that, that you do see in some of the bigger cities. So you want to keep an eye on your things. People ask about the weather. Greece in general is considered a very warm, sunny country, but it does depend on where you are. So if you go into the mountains, you're going to see different weather patterns than if you are on the island. So just keep that in mind. But in general, it's a Mediterranean country with a Mediterranean climate. People ask about budget. How much will it cost to live in Greece? That really depends on your lifestyle and the choices that you make. But you can live here on very little money, or you can spend quite a bit. It just depends. The statistic that I like to give for reference is the average salary in Greece, and that is the equivalent to 1,600 US dollars. So that's the average salary, which means that lots of people here in Greece are living on that amount of money. So I would say you can use that just as a good benchmark. If you're coming from either Northern Europe or from the United States, your housing expense is probably going to be about 20 to 50% less than you're spending now. And just the general cost of things can be lower. An example I like to give, last week I had a plumber come, and that visit was 30 euros, so maybe 35 US dollars. I was talking to my mom who had a very similar problem, and her bill, she lives in California, her bill was $300. So just a big difference there. And you'll see those things everywhere. Groceries are probably about the same, and utilities actually can be a little higher than some parts of the United States, for example, but the homes tend to be smaller, so you kind of make up for it that way. People ask about the language barrier. When I moved here, I spoke no Greek. And that actually wasn't a huge problem because I live here in the center of Athens, which is a very touristic area. So the rule of thumb is if you're living in touristic places, probably not having a lot of Greek will not be a problem because most people are speaking English so they can interact with the tourists. If you move to more remote places, you may run into situations where there is a language barrier issue. But if that happens, I kind of go back to the cultural value of philoxenia. The Greek people make a huge effort to try to make sure you get what you need. So usually there's ways around even not sharing a language. Best towns. People ask, where in Greece should I live? It really depends on what you want. I live in Athens and I really enjoy that because it has a little bit of everything. It's got great culture. By that, I mean, it has good theater, art shows, movies, wonderful restaurants. So there's a lot that you can do here. It also has a vibrant expat community. You'll find the same thing, but a smaller version in Thessaloniki, which is the second biggest city in Greece. It's up north. And if you're thinking of an island, I tell people to consider Crete. Crete is the biggest island in Greece. It's huge and it has something for everyone. It also has several airports and world-class healthcare. So check that one out. On the topic of healthcare, people ask, what should I expect? The healthcare in Greece can be amazing. Again, it depends on where you are living. If you're near a big city, specifically Athens or Thessaloniki, you'll have access to great healthcare. The way the system works is there's public and private healthcare. Most expats opt for the private healthcare option, and that just means you're going to have more modern facilities and you'll have full coverage. There is public healthcare. If you have an emergency, everyone is covered, but if you don't, and you haven't been paying into the public healthcare system, which is called AMCA, you would just be paying out of pocket as you use public healthcare. Again, the costs of here are significantly lower than they would be in the United States, but you could just look at those options. People ask about transportation. How do you get around? I've been here 13 years. I don't have a car, and that's been fine. It was actually the first time in my life not to have a car, but I've really enjoyed the simplicity of going carless. I live in the center of Athens. You can see that's the Parthenon in the background. And so for me, it's been easy to walk most places or to take the subway, which works quite well, or to take taxis, which are also quite inexpensive. People ask, what should I know? I think the main thing to know about Greece is just you have to have the right temperament to live here. It has a lot of bureaucracy. It can be inconsistent, it can be disorganized. Things take a lot longer than probably you will think they should. That is the common complaint. That is the thing. There's a saying here in Greece that nothing works, but everything somehow gets done. And that's what it's like. If you have a flexible and patient personality, I think this can be a good fit. If you are somebody who needs things to be very organized and efficient, it can be quite frustrating here. So keep that in mind. That's the biggest drawback. But in the balance, I think it's a wonderful country. It has given me a wonderful life. I've been able to be a lot more creative here. Just the slower pace, the lower cost of living has given me lots and lots of flexibility. The people have been very kind. I started from zero and I've been able to build a life that I'm really happy with. If you are thinking you want to potentially move to Greece, don't make the decision in your head. Come and visit. Do a scouting trip. And when I say do a scouting trip, I don't mean for a day or two. I mean, come for weeks or even months if you can, and try to come in a couple different times during the year so you can get a sense of what the country is like year round. But it is a wonderful place to live. Thank you for watching.